Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint Turn writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, development camp for the Flyers and just what has developed. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to sit in with the great writer extraordinaire, Lance Green. Oh my gosh, I am your co-host, SteelFlyers. How you doing, my man?
I'm all right.
Yeah, doing all right?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, you look a little darker. You spending a little time outside?
Yeah. Enjoying the pool and the hot weather that we're having and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome sauce. That's great, man, that you get to enjoy a little bit of summertime fun. So we're enjoying a little summertime fun too, because it's been real hot. And I'll tell you something that's been real hot is these Philadelphia Flyers have definitely been hot, especially lately because episode number 86, development camp for the Flyers, and just what has developed.
Do you mean the fans have been hot over? I don't know. All right, we'll leave it there. All right.
I'm trying to be right. Okay, so
just stoking the fire, just stoking it up.
I'm not saying a freaking word. But anyway, so we would like to thank all of you guys for listening, for tuning in, for checking us out. We really, really appreciate all the support. Honestly, if it wouldn't be for you guys, we wouldn't be here doing this. We enjoy talking about the Flyers to each other and everything, but we really enjoy doing it for you guys. Your support and our continued growth. And oh my gosh, man, you guys are just blowing us out of the water with where we're being found, where we're being picked up, the number of people that are watching us, the number of downloads that we're watching. It's great. Thank you guys so very much. So on the show last week, we said we were going to make an announcement, and one of the announcements that we're going to be making is there's going to be some changes to the website coming here probably in the next couple of weeks. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up the website so that we can allow for the T-shirts to be purchased. That's right, folks. All the cool swag that you see, the Perlo Wisdom Show, the Hockey Writers Inc. show, the SteelFlyers All Sports Network show, you'll be able to go to the website and buy all those shirts through PayPal. Right, so it'll be all set up, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? And you'll get a really cool T-shirt, quality made, quality print. We don't skimp here at SteelFlyers, right? So the website will also feature. That's right, folks. Lance Green, the writer extraordinaire, is going to be the featured writer for the Philadelphia Flyers, all Philadelphia Flyers coverage, and all hockey coverage, and will be the editor extraordinaire of all writers and be in charge of all writing that happens on the website. So big props to you, sir. Thank you for everything that you do, and gosh, man, I can't wait to see how things develop with you at the helm of the writing. And boom, that's all I got to say is boom.
I got some stories brewing, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll get it up and going soon here.
Exactly. So that's what we wanted to make the announcement. That was we had made that little teaser on the last week's show. So we are going to be setting the website up slightly differently. You'll be able to go right to the first homepage and see all the latest from all the great people here at the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. You'll be able to see all the latest articles, all the latest videos. Doesn't matter what sport or whatever, it's going to be there ready for you, easy at your fingertips. And then you'll be able to go to the store and buy the shirts and the swag and everything else like that too. So I'll be looking for that here in the very, very near future. So once again, thank you all very much for subscribing and liking. You can go to all of your listening platforms, all of your podcast listening platforms, the iHearts, the Googles, the Apples, the Spotifys, you name it. All you have to do is type in Hockey Writers Inc. We will pop up and you can click on and listen to our shows. So thank you very much. All right, my man, what do you think? Let's get into it.
I'm ready. Enough talk already. Let's get into it.
All right. So, the best thing that's happened so far for the Philadelphia Flyers, they've been in development camp for the last week-ish or so, last 10 days.
Right.
Hearing about, right? A lot of young talent has been invited to development camp, and we touched on this last week, but I want to talk about what exactly has developed in development camp this year with new people overseeing things, with Tortorella and Chuck high in the rafters now instead of AV and blah-de-dee. So I want to get into some of that. I wanted to get into some of the signings, the recent signings by the Flyers that they've done as well, and maybe some of the suggestions that are swirling around as far as who the team could or could not get.
Definitely some rumors still to be had out there concerning the Flyers, and regardless of what Chuck says, I still think there's some holes to fill that he's going to have to find a way to fill before the start of the season.
I mean, there's a lot of seriously huge question marks at the beginning of this season. Just since when Yo was instated as the interim coach, there's been huge questions with this team since then. Do you know what I'm saying? So there was never going to be, okay, we're going to be able to take care of everything this year. Does that, I think that's the pink elephant in the room, don't you think?
Oh, I think that Chuck set out via his words,
right,
saying that it was going to be, a big off season. He planned to have a big off season and really turn this team around in a short amount of time. But I think all smart Flyer fans knew that that wasn't possible. Even if we did sign Johnny Hockey, I don't think that it would have turned this team around. It would have been a nice piece to have moving forward, but we would have been right back where we were with Giroux, maybe a slightly better, but not an above 500 team. So it's going to take some changes. And like you said, there is some changes. We do have a new coach. We do have some new assistant coaches. Recently, the team even looked to replace the team equipment manager, and rumor has it that as far as we're concerned, as I wrote about before, the different physical training staffs and different stuff like that are going to be looked to be replaced as well. So a lot of small things, and like we said for so long this season, a lot of small things need to change, and we saw that as well with bringing in Sami Kapanen as a developmental coach. Yes, it's another Flyer, but he does have experience as being a head coach, being an assistant coach. He's been a GM. He owns his own team, so he knows what to look for. He's built teams before. He's developed coaches, and developed players before. He's done it all, and that's been a nice piece, I guess, in the developmental camps. And they had Sam Moran come out, somebody that has some experience in these developmental camps, and somebody that they can probably relate to a little bit more, these younger guys, rather than seeing some guy that played 20 years ago or when they were just being born. So
yeah, I think there's also a woman who
Yeah.
was one of the leads in the developmental coach, and I can't think of who she is, but I know
I think
she's
I think she coached for Princeton.
yeah. I
Yeah.
knew she was a college coach that was getting a shot at coming in at development camp, and
I think it's her
look, I'm
second
all for
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's her second one. So.
Right. Okay, so like I said, new people running development camp and everything like that too. You know what I mean? And with the list of invitees
Mhm.
that have been, some of them Zade Wisdom, you know what I mean, who I think has shown out quite nicely. Tyson Forrester has also shown out quite nicely.
Well, always has a shot for sure.
Yeah.
Tyson does, and that's something that has all the players and coaching staff and everything since he was brought in after being selected. So that is there. That is an NHL ready before he was even drafted. So that is exciting. He's just got to get the rest of his game in order here.
His skating seems like he's kind of getting better at the skating. He seems a little bit more fluid from what I've seen, from the footage that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that I want to talk about who we barely mentioned and somebody that I would like to talk about is Cam York. And this whole dynamic now with what's going to happen with D'Angelo, with Provorov, with Braun and York and Sanheim. I mean, there's also Zamula, and there's a few others, sprinkled in there. But I really, goes part to the question, there's a lot of question marks here. Can Cam take that next step, and will he be able to play in his natural position? And if he does play in his natural position, right, then now that just rejumbles the defensive pairings, right?
It's definitely tough because he is a left-hand shot defenseman. So you have Provorov and you have Sanheim right now listed above him. So is he really a third pairing defenseman? I don't think so. I don't think that's. Yeah, I think he's a top six. I think he's a top six for sure. Even this season. So the Flyers were rumored to be looking to trade Ivan Provorov even this offseason, but they didn't get it done, just like they didn't get JVR dealt so they could sign Johnny Gaudreau. But
I'm seeing a pattern develop here.
Right, but the question here is, there's another name that the Flyers have been linked to on defense recently, and he's another left-hand shot defenseman. So in my mind, they would have to get rid of one of the existing guys to bring this guy in. And that player that I'm talking about is Jakob Chychurn. Yep, Chychurn. So interesting with this guy. He plays for Arizona, of course. He's 6'2", 220, 24-year-old, big bodied, first round pick from back in 2016. Two-way defender, physical, great shot, good on the power play, all the things, right? All the things. But
cheap too, I bet.
He's a left-hand shot. Right now, he's got a contract that is paying him $4.6 million for the next 3 years.
Oh, well, then never mind.
Which is very affordable considering his talents. But
so you think he's better than Ristolainen?
I think so. I think he's better than Ristolainen for sure. But they don't really play the same game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So, and he plays the left side, and Ristolainen plays the right.
Right. No, I know.
So, with this, staying true to this rumor is nepotism. Of course, we talked about this before with the Flyers. Jakob's dad, Jeff, played for the Flyers, all right, and was originally selected by them. So this is interesting in my mind. It all
get rid of that, could you?
Right?
No.
It all comes back full circle. He was a right-hand shot defenseman that played 5 years with the Flyers. Was drafted by them in '84 with the second round pick from then. Played with them from 86 to 91.
Oh my
and
gosh!
He won a cup with Pittsburgh after being traded in 92. So,
Jeez.
that nepotism.
All right.
Flyers, it doesn't matter who the GM is or who the owner is, that nepotism circle comes full circle, and that's a
okay,
position but that just creates in my mind you got to get rid of Sanheim, who I think the Flyers are very high on, or you got to get rid of Provorov. And right now, I mean, Provorov was a -20 last season, and Jakob was too. So, but they both played on horrible teams. I think I'd rather have Jakob in my mind. I'll say that.
How old is Provorov? Provorov is now 26, 27?
Yeah, 25, 26. Yeah, and this guy's 24. So he's a little bit younger.
But Provorov has been used hard. In his last 3 years, easily his last 3 years. He's been logging over 22 minutes a game. Now, if they change that, what I mean by they, meaning the Flyers coaching staff, if they change that philosophy to where he played less minutes, he might be a better player.
I don't know if he can. I mean, you have.
Well, you take away his power play minutes right away, and now now he's down to.
Well, you should give him the Cam York. You should give those minutes to Cam York. Sanheim is good offensively, but not on the power play. He's a guy that likes to bring it up, but D'Angelo plays that right side. You still need a left-hand shot. That's the thing. Yeah. So I think you give it to Cam York, and I think you allow him to take over some of those power play minutes and ease, some resting time for Ivan and give him some time on the bench once in a while, because he's obviously not getting it done on the power play at all anyway. So
I see that's kind of my point. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily think you need to trade Provorov. I think if you just use him correctly. Do you know what I mean? Like we've talked about this a lot on quite some of those shows in the past, where this player's not being used correctly, and he just happens to be able to go and work correctly on a cup-winning team and then win the cup, and then get signed for a nice contract for the Rangers. I'm talking about Nicolas Aube-Kubel. And you mean you couldn't use this guy? What? Well, you know what I mean. And yet you're promoting Frost and all. Hey.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But my thing is, Ivan Provorov, in true Flyers fashion again, was paid for who they thought he would be in a couple of years instead of who he was at the time.
Yeah.
And instead of getting that bridge deal that, like Jakob did with Arizona, with being a $4 to $5 million guy, the Flyers signed him to $6.75 million a season. And that is why I think he needs to go, because he is not that level of player. And we're already paying Ryan Ellis to sit in the press box with a tie, that kind of money as well. So every dollar counts at this point, and trading him at this point would probably benefit the Flyers in my mind. And call me crazy if you want, but he's not a number one defenseman like he was projected to be, like the Flyers
or the way he's getting paid to be,
or the way he's getting paid to be. Yeah. So in that sense, it may be another person that the Flyers could move. Would I want them to necessarily? Probably not. But if you could get the same kind of player, talent-wise, back, and for a few $1 million less, and of course you might have to throw in some draft picks, whatever like that. Arizona likes them, but who knows? Who knows what that would entail? But that is a rumor that the Flyers have been looking in, at least on this Arizona defenseman for sure. So
that is quite interesting, to be honest with you, just because of who the Flyers have signed in the offseason, who they've signed so far as free agents and things of that nature. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to put it together here. This.
I think you're going to give yourself a headache if you try
Yeah,
to put
because
together and make
it
sense of
just
what
doesn't
the
seem like
Flyers are
there's a
doing right
plan.
now. No.
It just doesn't seem like there's a plan. And everything seems like it's happening at the last minute. Like they hired the coach, less than a week before the draft. And they did this and this, and then they still don't have. I mean, a couple weeks after the draft, you're in a development camp and you're still hiring coaches. Okay. So I wouldn't mind having Chychurn here. That wouldn't be bad. That would be okay. But see, if the Flyers use the players that they have correctly, put Cam York in his natural position, play Provorov outside of the power play. Don't give him those power play minutes. Just make him as a number 2 defenseman on the top pair, right? I don't even care. You can't put Braun up there because he's too old and too slow. So and D'Angelo is the same size shot, right?
Yeah, I don't see. I don't really get who's going to be dealt if they bring this guy in, because you're replacing one defenseman left-hand shot for another left-hand shot potentially, and I don't really see. You're still having the same problem. Cam York is still going to be what? Top 4, third pair defenseman, second pairing defenseman.
Playing the offside.
If you believe this in this kid, you gotta let him play at this point. You gotta let him play,
or his natural position. That's what I'm talking about.
Or trade him for somebody else. Like I don't see it. I don't see it. It's just there's too many holes in the Flyers system right now, and too many question marks to even think about addressing this. Left side of the defense. I don't get it. But you got to do something, because I mean I can't see you having a first round selection in Cam York just sit in the third pairing playing 9-10 minutes a night. I don't know what you're going to do there.
That's crazy. And maybe training camp is gonna. I mean, maybe once we see what Tortorella is gonna. What kind of a system he's going to put in, and what kind of, how he's going to try and play the guys that he's going to be able to put out on the ice. I think maybe we'll start to see some of these other things. I think some of these things will work themselves out based off of how well I think some of these players are going to outplay some of these other players that, I mean, you get what I'm saying, right?
I do.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I think there's going to be some players that are going to surprise and make the team, and players that were thought to have going to be shoo-ins for the team are going to be on the outside looking in.
No, I seriously think so too. So
I hope that is the case. I am really hoping that's the case, because, and then it's like what we talked about last show, where we said, look, if Chuck just came out, if ownership just came out and said, look, gonna take a couple years, but we're trying and we're sorry now. Because with as many question marks as this team has and as many holes as this team has, it's still hard for me to think that they still that they have to be in this. You still have to be in a rebuilding, retooling mode, because you don't have the pieces yet. You know what I mean? And there's too many questions now, especially with health of certain players now, even because Joel Farabee is going to be out for the beginning of the season now. That was an unexpected one. Ryan Ellis obviously going to be on long-term IR. I believe that was a bit unexpected as well. I mean, everybody thought that, he's going to take off the year next year and he's going to come back swinging in camp. No, he ain't.
No.
Like, I don't think he's ever going to play for the Flyers.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
What
just don't
about
see
that?
it.
Yep, and hopefully they'll be able to spend some money after the season starts, after they put him on long-term IR. But
They spent it
fun,
already.
funny you said something about Farabee, and he is hurt. He had neck surgery and all that stuff. Got hurt training this offseason. He's predominantly a left wing, and that's why the Flyers are looking at a right wing, right? Alex Chiasson, am I saying that, or Chiasson? Right winger, 6'4", 208 pounds, 31-year-old, former Stanley Cup winner with Washington Capitals. They're looking at him, rumored. This isn't my suggestions. This is rumored by sources a lot bigger than me, saying that they at least checked in on him. And
Okay.
so let's see his numbers last season: 67 games played for Vancouver, 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 points, was a +4. Again, he won in 2018
How much does he
with the
want?
Caps. Okay, so
How much does he want?
This is actually kind of makes a little bit more sense, but we got a lot of right wing depth. We got Konechny, Atkinson, Tippett, Big Mac back there, so who just filed for arbitration.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I don't know. There's a lot of right wing. I don't know if he plays the offside or could, but he only was signed for Vancouver for $750,000 last year. That's less than the Flyers are now paying Morgan Frost or Isaac Radcliffe. So if we could sign him for that kind of money and bring him in, big body guy, big power forward winger with a lot of experience, could help out the bottom six. That would be a nice signing in my mind.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Hey, Chuck. Hey. Yeah, his name is Alex Chiasson, right?
Yeah.
He's UFA. Cheap. Check that guy out.
Right.
Beep.
Right. So there is still names to be worked in there.
I know.
Chuck missed out obviously on some big names and let a lot of other guys go that could have been signed for pretty reasonable deals and were signed by other teams for reasonable deals, but the Flyers were too busy trying to get rid of salary way too late in the game, and trying to chase the unattainable, like I said. So
yeah, there was never going to be.
So here we are. Farabee's out with a neck injury, like you said. Ellis is still out.
Our number one center coming back from major back surgery.
Mm-hmm. And he's missed a lot of time the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And our number 2 center, Kevin Hayes, has missed a lot of games the past 2 seasons as well. So center is a question mark for me as well.
Hey, that's another question mark.
Another question mark is, but hey, don't fear. They re-signed Morgan Frost.
Wait,
$800,000.
Stop the presses. Hold it.
He's got 7 career NHL goals. All right. How about it?
In what, 60 some odd NHL games?
Yes. Multiple seasons. He's tried to make the team. He lucked out after how bad the team was last year.
How
that
many
he's
goals?
allowed to play some games. 7 career
goals?
NHL games.
So 7
goals. Yes, 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Yep. And his buddy Isaac Radcliffe was re-signed too. That guy, he's got 10 NHL games to his credit and 1 goal.
Look at us being positive.
Right.
So, okay.
There's that.
Way to go, Chuck. Woo! All right, buddy.
A bunch of 23-year-old first and second round picks that have yet to really flourish in the NHL. Just keep bringing them back. Good job, Chuck.
Here's gonna be the thing, though, right? See, this is what I'm now really dying to see, because we all know what kind of a coach John Tortorella is, and whether you like him or not, whatever the case is, and I've heard one side of the spectrum to the other about how players love being coached by him, players hate being coached by him. And I've seen how the media loves him and the media hates him. So there's always two sides of the coin, right?
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it, we got John Tortorella as the head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. All right. So I think that what's going to happen is the weeding out of those that aren't on the wagon train, because he's one of those types of guys that he'll play the kids, but he'll play the young talent and give them responsibility because he believes in them, because he sees their talent. He's got a good eye for talent. Do you know what I'm saying? So if he tells you you're going to be a good player, and if you do these certain things that you might be a better player, then you might want to listen to him. Do you know what I mean? He's got that respect. He's got that under his belt. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm very curious to see what John Tortorella does, because it just feels like Chuck is going to him like, okay, man, here's your bag of pucks. I see what you're going to do with this bag of pucks.
Right. So here's my idea here, how it could really help with Farabee still being out. I'd rather not see a 31-year-old player come in.
Yeah, Yeah.
He's got the experience and all that, but if we're going to rebuild with youth, there is one really good free agent still out there, and he could hold down the fort until Farabee comes back.
Yeah, man.
All right. That's Sonny Milano from Anaheim.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Anaheim didn't tender this kid a deal because they have an amazing wealth of talent and prospects. Yeah. Again, this year, they had, in my mind, one of the best drafts. They had to get rid of some people. But if you watch this kid, who's only 26 years old, so he would fit right in with the Owen Tippett's and all that coming up right now, and the Bobby Brinks and all those players that are young, right? He would fit in, and he plays well on top lines. He really played well with Zegras. Nice. Amazing. He played with Cam Atkinson before in Columbus, who drafted him back then. And, this season, he had 14 goals, 20 assists for 34 points. Wow. All right. He's a former 2014 first-round pick. In my mind, I don't see why Anaheim got rid of this kid. He would really came on this year.
Well, they're pretty loaded.
But they're pretty loaded. They have some depth. They have a lot of depth and guys coming up. So if the Flyers have any real sense, they would sign this kid. And he made 1.7, I think, last year, 1.7, but he didn't get re-signed because obviously Anaheim thought he didn't live up to those that payment. So all the other teams have filled their rosters right now. The Flyers have an ace in the hole with Ryan Ellis going to long-term IR. They have the ability to sign him right now, even though they don't have cap space. They could sign him, and because they're allowed to go over the cap by a certain amount, I think it's 10-15% before the start of the season.
Yeah, so they could before the start of the season.
They could sign him. They could find a way to get rid of somebody else or something,
whatever,
and bring this kid in and have him be some depth to this offense, because it's surely lacking even with Farabee in the lineup. But with him out of the lineup, guys, he was, not last season, but the season before, top scorer for the Flyers. So this is just one name that I really would suggest the Flyers take a good, long, hard look at. He fits that mold of that young talent, that 24, 25, 26 range that's really coming in and coming up strong for the Flyers now. That's going to be their bread and butter in the next couple of years. And, I think really would excel playing with some of these young guys.
Yeah, it sounds like that would be a pretty good move there for sure. Have the Flyers hired a coach for the Phantoms yet? Oh, no, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
All right.
But
I was just checking, making sure that I was still, on the same page.
here's another question.
Yeah.
Are you ready to see Felix Sandstrom or Troy Grosnick's being backup for Carter Hart this season?
Because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I'm not. Shoot.
It's gonna happen, dude. There's nothing. Who
they have to address this.
But how?
You got to get rid of somebody. You still got to try to get rid of somebody. But there is very few names left. But I'll give you one.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'll give you one.
Give me one.
Holtby.
Dude, at this point, seriously, can we just sign somebody?
Holtby has a Vezina trophy.
Yeah.
He has a Williams Jennings trophy. He has a cup.
Yeah.
He's 32 years old.
Familiar with
He has over 500 games in the NHL, 2.59 career GAA with a 915 save percentage for his career. All right. Last year he's with Dallas. He signed 1 year, $2 million. He's still on the market. Teams are filled up. They've signed every blue-blooded goalie you can think of.
I mean, even Martin Jones, went to what, Arizona, or went back to San Jose or something?
Seattle.
Yeah, he went to Seattle. Yeah, all right. I knew he went out west again.
So, I mean, even on Dallas, he didn't have the greatest season last year, but he did win 10 games. That's about as many as Carter Hart won all year. And he certainly played a heck of a lot less. Yeah. He still managed under 3 goals a game and still saved 913 save percentage. So that's pretty darn good. Yeah, we'll considering how would they bring him in? He doesn't have a job right now, guys, and teams have filled up the rosters. I think he could be signed for under $2 million. And I really think with the instability and I have no faith in Carter Hart to bounce back this year. I'm sorry. His numbers the past 2 seasons have been horrendous. You can blame it on whatever you want to blame it on, but if the kid was as good as the Flyers think he is, he's still 23 years old. He would have a lot better numbers than a 3.16 goals against average last year. Yeah. His numbers are just not good. He only had 13. He only had 13 wins and 45 games played last year. That's a horrible win percentage.
Now, I am going to say this. No, I'm going to say this, though, too. And this is what makes this even scarier, because it doesn't look like you're bringing back Braun, and it doesn't look like the defense is any different, really, than what it was last year, all for the signing of D'Angelo. You know what I mean? And in reality, he's bringing you a couple points and as a plus player, but he's not really, he's not turning the table, right? He's not turning the table, right? So he's helping you out with a little bit of depth, but other than that, you pretty much brought back the same people. I mean, you even re-signed Braun. What are you doing? I figured it out. I figured out why they went out and signed the leading fighter, right? Nick Del Saros, right? I figured it out, right? So he was drafted by Chuck.
Sure, there's always a connection, yeah. Yeah.
He played in Minnesota, right? And so they signed him and Braun both for $1.75 million. They signed Nick to 4 years, and Braun I think is what, 2?
No, he's only 1.
1.
Yeah,
all right.
He's only 1.
Yeah. So, but still,
yet another year of Justin Braun.
$3.25 million. Yeah, another year. Like, I thought we were rid of him at the trade deadline. Nope. I had to bring that nightmare back.
Yeah, but
and it's just going to make it worse because he's taking up a spot.
Yeah. Nick was drafted by LA and he's played on a couple of different teams, but yeah, he did play on Minnesota last season. He went there during the trade deadline. So he's been all over the place and great 4 years of a 30-some-year-old fighter. If you can't beat him up.
I mean,
that's all it is.
The other day when you sent me that text, I was like, that was a great text, man. I like it. If you can't beat him, well, then beat him up. All right. Well, see, that used to be the mentality of the Flyers back in the day because they didn't have the talent.
Yeah, but Rick Tocchet could score along with beating people up. So that's the difference. That's the difference.
So once you got Bobby Clarke, who could do the same thing, and most of all those guys from the 70s, they could all do the same thing. Not only could they smash your face in, but they could also score. You know what I mean?
Timmy Kerr, all
that's what I mean, right? So, and then even when you get into, the Lindros era, not only could Lindros just take you out, but he could score. Right? So could Leclerc, so could Renberg. I mean, all them guys, they could all score, but they could just destroy you. You know what I mean? If they needed to, they would either take you out with a check, or if they needed to, break out the fisticuffs, they could. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So we don't have a backup for Hart, so that's still a question mark, right? We've re-signed. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Isaac Radcliffe and Morgan Frost to the rescue. All right. Okay. Bobby Brink.
What about him?
Yeah.
Well, I heard some rumors about him too. Possibly being moved, but in that to free up some space there to bring in Johnny Hockey, but that didn't get done. So I don't know. I don't know, guys. It's going to be a rough one, and I don't really see what Chuck Fletcher was talking about. He decided not to go. He said he decided not to go after Johnny G because they had more holes to fill than just, a star player. Well, we still have the holes here, guys. We still have a question mark in net. We still have a question mark on a third center. We still have a question mark on who the heck's going to take a place of Farabee in the lineup. He's supposedly going to come back, but I mean, that was a pretty extensive surgery he just had.
Yeah, he's supposed to miss training camp, and I think the first month of the season, I think he's supposed to miss.
Yeah. Especially when in all actuality, he's a top player, one of the top players for the Flyers.
I mean, he scored what, 20 goals last year or 21 goals last year, something like that. He was
the season before for sure.
Third. Yeah, right. So I mean, good. Joel's always been one of the guys that we both liked. He came out his sophomore year after putting on a couple of pounds and bulking up and doing the right things and has done nothing but, his stock has, gone up like this over the last couple of seasons. So, I mean, he's going to be missed.
Yeah, he had 20 goals in his second season. He led the Flyers with that in the shortened season.
Yeah, that was
COVID season. We all know that. And then he had 17 goals this year. He would have been on pace for 20, but for sure. But injuries and whatnot and whatever else. So
exactly,
I do think he's a big part of this team, especially with Claude Giroux not being an orange and black. So, that was a big piece that the Flyers were going to look to really progress this year and rely on. But now they don't have him for the first part of the season either.
First thing one of the last things that I want to talk about is I want to just lay this whole Johnny Hockey thing to bed. Okay? Because I really feel like the Flyers were never going to be in the race for Johnny Hockey because they never had the money. And they never had the space to be able to have him, to be able to offer him any kind of a contract that would, I mean, to be honest with you, they probably could have offered him $8.5 million, and he probably would have came here willingly for 8.5, right? He probably would have willingly done that. But the Flyers were not able to move any of the pieces that needed to be moved to bring Johnny Hockey here. Now, but all that aside, I think it would be, I'm kind of glad that it didn't happen. As much as I would have loved to have seen him in an orange and black sweater, right? And I have to go with our friend Jimmy and be like, I would love to have seen that. Like, when I heard that was even a possibility, I was like, whoo, yeah. I mean, the cat came out and said he wanted to play for the Flyers. It doesn't get any more written across your chest than that.
He's been saying that for years. He's been saying that for years.
That's what I mean. Right? Everybody knows that he wants to come and play for the Flyers, but Philadelphia has not been fiscally responsible enough for the last 15 years to be able to afford a player like Johnny Hockey. They pretty much dunked the donut into the coffee and then broke it off and left a piece in the coffee with the whole Giroux thing. I mean, okay, they got a 2024 first-round draft pick for him. All right, that's 2 years away. It's going to be a good draft. That's a good number one draft pick. Cool. But the fact that Chuck has not been the general manager to be able to get it done.
No,
and make the deals to get it done.
Right. But here's the thing. Like I said, the Flyers knew Johnny Hockey wanted to come to Philly for years. He's been saying that in interviews, even for past 2-3 seasons. He's saying when he comes a free agent, he wants to come to Philly. He made it apparent before free agency that he wanted to come to Philly, and they gave them flat out, like, if you make the cap space, I will come, right? And the Flyers didn't do it. They fumbled it, and shame on them. Shame on them.
I agree.
Shame on them. Shame on them, because if San Jose can get rid of a 37-year-old defenseman who still has 3 years on their contract, shame on them. And they got a third-round pick back for him.
Back for it.
Okay. Now you look at St. Louis. St. Louis is into the same boat. Once Johnny left Calgary, now Matthew Tkachuk, who has said the same thing about one day wanting to play for his dad's St. Louis Blues for a long, long time now since he's been drafted, he said, you know what? I'm out of here too. And what is St. Louis doing? They are trying everything in their power, and they're going to give up everything for this kid, and good on him, because this kid is a phenomenal, phenomenal talent. And he wants to come home to St. Louis.
I get it. But this is why, as much as I'm lauding Chuck for not getting it done, I'm also kind of on the double-edged side, because I'm kind of glad that it didn't. Because let's face it, Johnny would come here and his time here would be wasted. Because there's still too many pieces that need to be filled. And if you fill one of those pieces with him, then that's going to set you back another couple years, because now you had to sink all that money into this one guy, right? When you need, you how many players could you get for that salary that the team would need? Backup goaltender, winger, defenseman, whatever you could get for that kind of money. You could get all three of those players for that one guy.
So let me play devil's advocate here.
That's why I'm saying this.
Right.
To play devil's advocate, because everybody thought, yeah, let's bring Johnny in here. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. But I'm saying, well, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. It's kind of glad that he didn't, because, all right, the production, 115 points.
Yeah.
right? Whatever. I mean, the guy's phenomenal, wants to come here and play, but it just wasn't in the cards because the money wasn't available in Philadelphia. And come to think of it, he's 31. He's really only got about a couple of years left. And I would hate to see him waste those years here in Philadelphia because there's so many pieces that are going to need to be taken in place of Philadelphia in order for the team to be relevant. And you can't just expect one guy to be the one. So that's my Johnny Hockey thing.
He's 28, but
all right.
So he's on the good side of 30.
Yeah, all right.
But here we go. What will it take new players to want to sign to a team?
Mm-hmm.
They have to have a star player. When's the last time the Flyers actually had a true star player? Eric Lindros, John LeClaire.
Ooh, yeah.
That was the last. Maybe Jeff Carter, maybe, but he didn't bring in talent. He wouldn't bring in talent. If you're talking free agents and trying to entice them to come to a team, why do you think the Flyers didn't have any free agents want to come here? They didn't have the cap space. You're right. But two, they didn't have anybody to want to come play with. Do you want to come play with Kevin Hayes, who's going to be out half the season? Do you want to play with Sean Couturier, who's made to be a number one center, but he's really a third line center? A defensive center. There's nobody to play with here. Even Claude Giroux. Claude Giroux is a great number 2 player, but he wasn't a number 1 guy. He wasn't a face of the franchise guy. He was made to be because we didn't have one. Johnny Hockey is a face of the franchise, and he could have been that banner hanging guy.
Like I said, I get it.
Out front of the building.
Yep, I get it.
So in order to do that, in order to kickstart this rebuild, if you really wanted to kickstart a rebuild, you had to give the fans somebody to be excited about, which they were, which everybody on Flyers, Twitter, and everything else were talking about him coming in, and they wanted him coming in. Now, I know that it wasn't going to really happen, but the Flyers should have probably made that happen because look at the stadium last season. It was completely empty. And I posted videos when I was at games a minute before the puck drop, and the place is empty. Empty.
Yeah.
Empty. No lines to the restroom. No, you could walk right up and get a soda or a beer or whatever you wanted.
Didn't take long at all, did it?
Didn't take matter. Maybe one person in front of you because nobody wants to come see this team. Yeah. You have to bring in a piece like Johnny to get people's butts back in the seat, to get people back interested in this team. Because right now, who are you going to see? Owen Tippett,
Sean Couturier, Atkinson, right? Yeah,
that's not guys that are going to put.
That's not hanging from the rafters, or that's not banners hanging off the side of the building. Cut people.
That's not guys' names who are going to be hanging from the rafters as retired Flyers. You need a face of the franchise, and Drew left. They gave away all his money to Farabee and to
everybody else,
to Couturier as well. Before he even left, they gave that away.
Do you know? I like what I have to give props to Mr. Martinez, Jason Martinez, right? I have to give him props because he said it best. This team needs a face of the franchise, not the coach, which is what Tortorella is going to be. They need a player. Okay, and Johnny Hockey would have been that player, but I would have loved to have seen him come. But I just never felt that it was going to be in the cards because financially there was no way that Philadelphia was going to be able to afford him. Even at a quote-unquote hometown discount rate, we're assuming that he would take $8.75 million to come and play for Philadelphia because he took $9.75 to play in Columbus.
And he turned down a bigger offer from
That's
Columbus
what I mean from New Jersey.
So
they offered him 10.
Well, yeah. Well, he wants to play with Patrick Laine and stuff, and he wants him to be able to resign. So who knows? Who knows what's all going to be laid out there in Columbus? But
do you know, maybe
that's the issue.
maybe Johnny Hockey took a look at Philadelphia and went, "Ooh, yeah, think I'm going to change my mind on that one, guys."
Well,
I mean, we don't know that.
Yeah, but
right?
do you really look at Jersey? He was just about to say, he said it himself.
Yeah.
He was going to sign in Jersey because it's still close to home.
Yep.
But Columbus came with an offer, and Columbus, in his mind, had a better team.
Yep.
And a brighter future, and went that route.
Maybe he would not have come to Philadelphia. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it would have been great. It would have been definitely would have been a feather in the cap of Chuck to finally do something that was good for the team and Flyers and everything else, but it just wasn't meant to be because of the financial decisions that they made a couple of years ago to where they are now. And the fact that he's so willing to give up draft picks for these old guys and so willing to just trade away draft picks to get people that aren't worth the money that the paper's being printed on, or you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay. Yes, I'm scratching my head because Chuck, the clue phone is for you, buddy. Do you think that there is a way for Philadelphia to, with everything that we said, with Tortorella weeding out some of the players and everything else like that, what does this team look like to you this year?
If everybody's healthy?
No, I mean, like, yeah, if McWorld happens and everybody comes back healthy, say after the first month, except for Ellis, because we know that's not going to be the case, right? And Tortorella weeds out the guys who's not buying in, and the team, the bag of pucks that Chuck has handed Tortorella.
6th place in the Metro Division, at best.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, man. That's really not that much of an improvement from last year because they finished, what, 7th or 6th or whatever. I think there'll be more points. There'll be a couple more wins. I think there'll be less of the large 10-game plus losing streaks. I think the wins and losses are going to be sporadic. It's going to be very up and down because this team, we don't know what Tortorella's going to instill as far as a system, and we've seen kind of how he's done certain things. Do you know what I mean? He makes it good for the goalies. Is that going to be a good thing for Carter Hart? Yeah, but we're not really looking at a super stellar defense. You know what I mean? So, all right, 6th place in the Metro. I don't know, man. What do you think? The next thing coming up here for the Flyers, I believe, is going to be training camp. So they got a couple months off, right? I hope that we don't have a couple months off, but the Flyers do. I hope in those couple of months that some of these guys hit the weight room, eat their chicken and drink their milk, get with a nutritionist, get with, trainers, stick around, maybe. Hey, everybody stay in town or come to town and be together. What? Look, I get it. You're with these guys all the time, but the only way you're going to build together as a team is if you play together and work together and as a team. I mean, did it not seem to you like they were just a bunch of guys skating around just you know what I mean? Like there was no rhyme or reason for anything that anybody was doing. They just seemed like a bunch of guys just skating around. I mean, this team has no cohesion. It has no identity. It has nothing. It's like starting from scratch. Right? I mean, Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take some time for sure. And Like we've been saying, if Chuck just came out and said this is going to be our fate, then so be it. But
I think more people would have respect.
He promised. Yeah, respect is a good word. But he didn't say that. He said he was going to swing for the fences. Ownership, Comcast said he was going to give him an open checkbook, whatever that means in a salary cap era. But to spend what, the $3 million they had in cap space at the end of last season, I don't know. So
if this is his swing for the fences, I really would hate to see him get desperate. I mean, if he's swinging for the fences now, like, really? Like, this is your swinging for the fences? Is bringing in Nick Del Salros? This is your swinging for the fences, bringing back Justin Braun? This is your swinging for the fences, re-signing Morgan Frost, Isaac Radcliffe? All right.
Bringing in Troy Grosnick and claiming that he's going to actually compete for the backup position when he's only played 4 NHL games and he's 32 years old.
Yeah. Well, listen, Lance, I think with that bit of good news, we gotta bring this celebration to an end, I think. I mean, what else do you gotta say, right? I can say this, that in a couple of weeks we're gonna have our good friend Jim Jackson on, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say about the state of the team. And we'll have our state of the team address, I guess, with the great Jim Jackson. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks, so I'm really excited about that too. So, Lance, my man, why don't you tell the folks where we can get you, find you, and get all your great stuff?
So I changed my Twitter handle. It is Lance Green 39 now. It's a little bit more easier to find me as opposed to some random junk email address that I had as my Twitter handle before. So
okay, so now the new handle is it capital Lance Green?
Yep, Lance Green 39.
Lance Green 39. All right. Well, there you go. That's where you can get Lance now on Twitter. So you got to make sure you check that out and follow him and all that other great stuff too. So you can also find him on SteelFlyers.links. I'm sorry, SteelFlyers.com/links/Hockey Writers Inc. And you can also find him on all of your great other podcasting platforms like Google and Spotify and iHeart and Apple. Just type in the Hockey Writers Inc. and you'll see the great Lance Green, writer extraordinaire, and now the editor-in-chief of the great SteelFlyers All Sports Network. So congratulations to that, man. Can't wait to see how that's going to go. Also, the announcement of the website changing here in a little bit. So be looking to that, and be looking for some special guests coming up here in the very near future as well, too. So thanks, everybody, for checking us out. You can find us once again on SteelFlyers.com/links/Hockey Writers Inc. and all of your podcasting platforms. I'm SteelFlyers. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Thanks for watching the Hockey Writers Inc. Catch you all on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.